How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you, mate?
Good. Thank you so much for coming in. I know it's so close to the holidays, and
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, just chilling at home. So
that
not
is
not got.
that is an amazing painting behind you. Is that a painting?
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's actually I don't know if you've heard the name Kevin Willis. He's done a lot of work with Adam Jones on our videos and
yeah,
stuff for
yeah, yeah.
Tool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's an
he's
original.
actually yeah, that's his painting.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, I had to really twist his arm to get him to part with it. Um, it was actually his own. It's in his own house. He had that hanging up,
And you were
and
like, you went over for
yeah,
dinner, and you were like, I'm taking that.
yeah, like over years, I kept trying to get it off him, and he was like, "No, I'm not departing with this one." And then finally, he agreed.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey guys, hey, how are
Hey,
you?
how are you, Peter?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry for being late. Am I late? No, I'm okay.
No,
No, you're actually right on time, man. You're not late
Right
at
on
all.
time.
Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture, music, film, and everywhere in between. I'm really, really excited. The response to our first episode back, Ryan, with Naomi and with Benner was so much fun.
Yeah.
People really, really seem to like it, and I got to tell you, man, I haven't been too hot on the idea of going live because it tends to get a little, it tends to get a little long, but it seems like people like that, and that's what it comes down to is the podcast format, I should say,
Mm.
is really long form chats. And I think the idea of incorporating a bit more of that in 2024, I'm all for it because it's just nice when you can actually have someone come on and get an idea, be able to form ideas a little bit more than just in like a short interview form. I mean, I don't know. It's just an observation I made. It just seemed to really have there seemed to be like a really nice flow and a nice cadence, if you will, with everybody.
Well, I think it was a longer episode because somebody wasn't staged left of me with a blow dart gun, you know, putting me out of my misery when I would go on too long.
Yeah.
But no, I think the cool thing about the live thing is that, especially because my other shows and my other formats that I used to do was kind of this idea that you're kind of recreating that feeling of a special event in Comic Con where people are there to hear the conversation, but at the same time, they can comment and you can even interact with the comments. So it feels like the viewer it's themselves can actually say something. And also I personally get a little bit more energy knowing that people are watching and know that you should, bring it. And sometimes that's harder to replicate when you're like, when you're having somebody and there's a time limit and you have this guest for this long and you're like
Yeah.
we have exactly 20 minutes to make this the best interview ever or else. Well,
Right.
sometimes when it's a little looser it's like there's some magic in here somewhere. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And not everybody's got, some of the people we have on the show, not everybody has 2 hours to dedicate to
Mm.
hanging out with, us turkeys, but it's fun. It is fun when you get some people that can stick around for a little bit longer. Like for example, I was just looking to get some guests for this year, and someone's like, the guy's only got 10 minutes, and I'm thinking to myself, well, 10 minutes doesn't really work in this format that great, but you've made it
Mm.
work in the past. But all that having said, it's fun to be able to chat a little bit longer with people, and I'm really glad we were able to chat with Naomi and Benner a little bit more. So that was fun. All right, Ryan, before we get too far, let's remember we've got to thank our title sponsor, the people that keep us afloat, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. And that, of course, is Heartbeat Hot Sauce. Check them out over at heartbeathotsauce.com. Use our promo code Rockman20, and that'll get you 20% off your entire order. And love it. I used it all through the holidays. I gifted some bottles to people, and everybody that's tried it loves it.
Like when we first got sponsored by Heartbeat Hot Sauce, I
Yeah.
conveniently went to a barbecue like the next day with the big box. And
Yeah.
dude, I felt like a pimp.
Yeah.
It was like, and I wasn't like Oprah. I wasn't like generous, like you get a hot sauce, you get a hot sauce. I'm like, no, these are my hot sauces.
It's like,
But
here you go. I'll put a little bit on your burger.
Yeah, but here's a sample. You'll be back.
Well, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So go check them out, heartbeathotsauce.com, and use our promo code Rockman20, and you can get 20% off your entire order. Also, a big thanks to our friends over at Studio House Designs. You got some new shirts over the holidays. I got some new shirts over the holidays. I'm going to talk to you a bit about this one because Cody started doing a little bit more of this style. He did it with Talk to Me, and he's done it with the Blair Witch Project, where you've got like this front pattern, like kind of like a chest pattern, and then you've got a pattern, a design on the back. I'll just flip around for you to see it.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Nice.
this is from the Blair Witch. So that was
usually the back of the shirt print is missing, so that's kind of ironic. That's what it says.
It says missing, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, lovely. And you've got the Nightmare on Elm Street. You know what's funny when I see that shirt? I remember that VHS box set.
Yeah, and I love it when, like you said, like you remember the box set when you see all of them together and they have that shared art on the front. It really makes you think that this is a world that you need to jump into. Yeah.
So thank you to them, and I just want to show you some stuff really, really quickly. Ryan, you love the Toxic Avenger, right?
Oh, so much actually.
Okay, I just got this from MVD Entertainment.
Okay. Oh, nice.
In 4K.
Oh, what?
So you've got the Toxic
I don't think
Avenger.
anything filmed on Trauma ever thought 4K quality would be.
That's what I found so funny.
Yeah.
They're newly restored 4K and Blu-ray edition. So you've got Toxic Avenger Part 2, Part 3, and Citizen Toxie, the Toxic Avenger 4.
Never let Julia watch these movies ever. No. Not that you can tell her what to do, but I advise it.
Really, eh?
Yeah, it might have been the murder of the dog in the first one, or the people that drive around running over children before Toxie gives them their comeuppance, or the tortured nerd that before he is Toxie is, before turning into a creature of superhuman size and strength. I just don't think it's Julia's bag.
Yeah, well, it's very possible that you're right. So I have not seen the Toxic Avenger. Okay, I'm going to check the year of the first one was 1984. So yeah, I remember seeing the first. So it's the 40th anniversary this year.
Wow.
So I remember seeing the first Toxic Avenger, on a really grainy VHS at someone's house, and it's like I just remember being probably 13 or 14 going, I shouldn't be watching this. So the fact that I could dive into this, I just want to let people know, if you're looking for the Toxic Avenger,
oh my god,
available on 4K now from through MVD Entertainment. And I'm going to take a minute to show you. I don't know if I think I showed you these when you were here, but I wanted to show these off a little bit because it was my birthday over the holidays. I turned 53. And I got a really, really nice present from my kids and from my wife, from Julia. I love Beavis and Butthead. And I got these Beavis and Butthead sneakers.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. So they're Pumas. And this is not a plug for them. We're not endorsed. These were bought from me, but I just wanted to show them off because they spare no detail at all. They, right from the bottom of the soles that say, "This sucks." And then each shoe is dedicated to one of the guys. So this is the Butthead show, Butthead shoe, I should say.
Does it say like AC/DC or Death Rocks on it or something?
No, but it does say, like, on the sole, it says ladies beware. And then it says, "This sucks" here.
Yeah.
It's got a little nacho pendant that kind of hangs. You've got Butthead inside the shoe. I don't know if you can see that.
That's really cool, man.
So that's one. So that's like his shoe, and this is the same pair. You've got Beavis's shoe here.
Nice.
It says, "I need TP4 in my butthole," and this one on the top here, it says, "I am the Great Cornholio."
Nice.
And then it's got the two of them inside.
I see you're much more fond of these shoes than the macaroni art that I gave you for your birthday.
What do you mean the macaroni art?
I don't know. I'm trying to joke about it.
No, you gave me an incredible present for my birthday.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you want me to show it off?
Yeah, you could. Sure, why not?
I have to go get it.
Or we could do a whole episode about it later, I suppose, right?
I guess we could. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. We'll
Okay.
save that. We'll save it for that. We'll save it
All
for
right.
that.
There you go.
Um,
We'll keep it mysterious this
We'll
year.
keep it mysterious, yes. But
Yeah.
so yeah, so I just wanted to show that off, and if you guys have any great presents you got over the holidays, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what you got. All right, so this week on the show we have got a band called MTVoid, and it's spelled MTVoid, like MTVoid,
Yeah.
so like MTV,
Yeah.
Void, MTV is void, like it's just, and it's pretty much sets the it sets the table for what this band is about. They're very, very artsy. They're very, very out there, to the point where when they put their lyrics together, they draw inspiration from William Burroughs' cut up method, where he would take all these words that were written and cut them up, and then mix them up, and then put them out on a page, and that would be the way it would go. So that's how some of their lyrics are written. And it doesn't surprise anyone when you hear this, that, one of the members from this band is in Tool.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so great, is that the two guys that formed this band are very, very artsy. So it's comprised of Justin Chancellor, of course, of Tool. He's the bass player for Tool, just a monster bass player, monster musician, and a guy named Peter Mohamed. Peter was in a Polish band called Sweet Noise. They met while Tool were touring in 2002 in Germany at a festival. The two of them struck up a friendship, and they stayed in touch and have been putting music out. So the new album is called Matters Not.
Yeah.
Part 1. Matters and Not, like KNOT. So everything is like a play on words with these guys, which is really, really rad. And I got a chance to talk with them. I think it was right before Christmas. So we've had this one in the can for a little bit. Very excited to have these guys on the show and for people to hear this interview, because as a 90s music fan, talking to somebody from Tool is like, but just the fact that Justin is so down to earth, gives so much space to Peter in this project, and doesn't overshadow it. They really seem like equals on this thing. And it's just such a nice friendship to witness, through the computer. They're both in different places, but you could tell when they jump on together on Zoom that they're just happy to be there. And it's great. The music's cool. It's a great vibe. And I have to say, I really am a fan of bands, that are able to let their members go off and do projects. And when those projects really pay off, and in the interview, we discussed the band Crosses, who is Chino from Deftones. One of my, Deftones, one of my all-time favorite bands, but that band Crosses, who are going to be in Montreal in a few weeks in February, they're touring. That's an example of how a project outside of a band that is just so massive can really, really be expressive, can be creative. And I love the fact that this is the same kind of thing for Justin. It seems like he's really having a lot of fun with this project, and they're putting vinyl out. They're trying to plan some kind of a live show at one point. So it's really, really cool to see that these guys are playing together and are doing this project, putting out music, and people seem to be really reacting to it. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah. Well, a lot of bands, sometimes when they put out a side project, it's this eye-rolling experience, because you're like, oh, and this is why you're not doing my favorite band's music anymore.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's so derivative of the band where you're like, why didn't you just do more of your music?
Yeah. Well, that's it, but Justin's, he's wonderful. Peter's really, really cool. So yeah, I'm excited for people to hear this. Check it out. My chat with Peter and Justin from the band MTVoid. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it, because I know it's the holidays and everyone's getting ready to shove off. But I'm really, really glad we got a chance to chat today. Someone sent me this probably about 2 months ago, and we were trying to get this organized. And immediately, when I listened to this, I liked it. I don't know if it's because of the age that I grew up. Like I'm going to be 53 next week. So this is there you go. So this is really in my wheelhouse of some of the stuff that I grew up on. I hate to come in and say I hear influences, but I hear a lot of stuff that can definitely would imagine has probably pushed you guys along on this journey, and it's almost like comforting, because I grew up on a lot of electronic music. I grew up on music where, you know, bands like Joy Division and New Order were pushing boundaries, and then of course, you know, you had your Nitzer Ebbs, you had your Skinny Puppies, and you had all that other stuff. And I just hear so much fun stuff in this music. What was it like for you guys to A, meet, and B, create together?
Justin?
Yeah, it's always been a really exciting process. You know, I think we're kind of both really inspired by each other's input. You know, so whatever comes my way is always, you know, it's always exciting and challenges me. So it's just kind of you know, like we're the way we did it as well, doing it remotely across the seas in a way.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, we keep talking about it. It's kind of like Christmas every day, like opening your email and receiving these new files and seeing what Peter had done to my bass line and stuff. So it's a really, you know, really fluid, kind of full of motion, the whole process, you know, keeps changing on a daily basis. So yeah, it's been really fun. Been really fun.
Yeah, I can add that in my opinion, it's going back to when we really met back in Europe. It was, well, around 2003, something like that.
Yeah.
And from this first moment, you know, we sat down in a cafe, in a bar in Poland, and we
Yeah.
started talking about music, about future, generally about life. And really, we were like kind of oh, how did we meet? You know, because everything was just coming together so well. And I remember that conversation. I still feel like it was the beginning of something amazing. That's how I felt back then, and that's how I feel right now. So I'd add to what Justin said about being inspired musically by each other. I think it's more that we're kind of, at least I was inspired by a person, you know, by a
Yeah.
friend, by somebody I can talk to without even saying all the words, but I can communicate in terms of, in a field of art, like broadly speaking. It's art we're always dealing with, but it's this case of being inspired by another human being that, in my opinion, is even more important than being inspired by a bass line or something, because we met there and in that bar, which is kind of a, you know, it doesn't happen always, but from the first minute we were almost like talking about music that we'll be making in like 10 years time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk what the fuck, you know. It's like, yeah, that's it.
But I think it's interesting what you said there. You know, it's one thing when, you know, he'll send you a bass line or you'll send each other vocals or whatever, and you get inspired by that. But the idea of being inspired by the person, you know, meeting someone going, you know, I think you and I could create some cool stuff together without even hearing what each other's going to play. That's special. That's pretty
Yeah, and
special.
it was always like that. It was like when we were back in LA, and you know, and we had this period when we were mixing the album at Justin's studio, and I'd be the guy who'd be like diving deep into tech of mixing on a board and stuff like that, and he'll be coming over like late afternoon or early evening, and like, what you got, right? And I'll be like just putting the mix on the desk and like, listen, this is what I've got. And he was like, yeah, this is, and there was never really a disappointing moment, like we're kind of, you know, you can get bored with someone, or you can be, you know, upset by something. There was never a case like that. It was always like the drive, the push, because I think we are kind of, you know, we're very honest about it. And if I want to, you know, if I want to really glitch Justin's bass, I don't think twice, and I
Yeah.
don't have this in my mind like, okay, what if I fucked it up too much and I send it to him and he'll be like, well, it's not bass anymore, mate.
Yeah.
He's even more on this side like, oh, it's not bass. That's great, you know?
Yeah, yeah, sure, definitely. What I really noticed about this I guess EP, if you will, or mini record or 7-song voyage, there's a lot of focus on the drums, and you know, in this kind of genre, I guess you would say, it's great. It sounds to me very much like they're organic drums. And they just, I don't know if I'm right, but you know, they sound really like they're driving the song. And there's something about a drummer that's playing that to me, it's hard to replace. And any kind of music? And am I wrong? Are they are organic drums, right?
Well, some of them are,
Okay.
and some of them aren't.
Okay, because
yeah.
there's some parts where I'm really feeling like there's a drummer playing and you feel a push and a pull, and it doesn't seem like anything's lined up.
Yeah, I mean, we did Eric in Prota drummed on the one on Propagator.
That's the one.
That's
Yeah.
that's a real drum track.
And you
But
feel it.
yeah, it's got a lot of feel to it. But I think also Peter, when he puts his beats together, there's a lot of organic material involved in that. You know,
right.
he's creating his own sounds and his own kits out of those sounds. So you're getting the same kind of organic stuff, you know, that you would with a real drum kit. And because of the types of sounds and they're kind of unusual, they're not your normal sounds. There's a push pull to the whole drum beat that you wouldn't get,
which is great. And
yeah.
So it's almost like a huge compliment to you, Peter, because it sounds like there's a guy playing that. And there is a guy playing it just differently, but it's great because there is the push pull. It doesn't feel like everything's done on Beat Detective. You know, it just seems like it's really has like a push and a pull and a vibe.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's more like I'm glad that you said that. You're the first person who said that, but it gives me this thought that maybe we are more like a drummer and a bass player, really. But I do vocals, right? And I'm fascinated by sounds, and the aim is to build it whole as a whole. But I was always aware that Justin reacts, which is natural, in the best way to drums, right? And to keep it like really tight with the grid would not give us the feeling of a free floating bass line. So in order to get to that part, from the first beats that I've been sending him, it was like, okay, how do I make it organic? How do I push this or pull those hi-hats back and forth, or how do I delay this kick drum, not too much, but just sufficiently so it has this feeling of an organic evolving thing. So that was always my focus, even more than typically thinking about vocals. The first thing I think about is like how we create this beat, which is placed on top of textures that have their own rhythmic thing.
Yeah, I mean, you managed to make it really sound like a rhythm section, so gold star for that.
It's really fun, creating bass lines to the beats that he sends me.
Yeah.
Just for that very reason, there's all these textures, this fabric that you kind of that pulls you along and that you follow while you're actually coming up with ideas in your mind. So all that effort that he puts into making the sounds organic really pushes me to the next level, and then I can kind of respond in a equally organic way with my bass line.
So I'm the guy that goes on vacation, and when I pack a couple of books, I bring stuff like this.
Right.
So
yeah.
I want
on it.
Right. So then I'm glancing through the press kit, and I'm seeing that there's some Burroughs influence. Tell me a bit about that.
Oh, it came up with an old idea of me really trying to pursue an art of writing in English, right? So because we started in LA, and it was clear that it's going to be Polish. I think I'm really glad that Justin made this decision, which was really against kind of logic. We're like in US in Los Angeles, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna push this message to the masses. So masses means English. And he was like, you know what, you sound organic and you sound aggressive and you sound natural in your own language. So let's do it in Polish. I want to make it sound different. So that's what happened. And it was great. But then I always had this challenge, within myself. I want to do it in English, right? And then I started really diving into different methods, alternative methods of writing poetry and writing books. And that's how I came upon the work of William Burroughs and the Dada movement, right? The cut up technique. And he was one of those guys that really made it famous. He didn't start it, but he was the one who started really writing, full body of work using this weird technique of cutting up text putting it in a linear mode, back again, getting this bizarre, structures and kind of like mind melting stuff. I'm like, oh, this is fucking MTV. Let me try this,
Yeah.
So I dived into that, and I got into online generators. Then I got myself like a program that was then I started like putting together sources, because I can put in my own sources. So I was diving into books that I like, interviews that I like, whatever content that I found really interesting, challenging in terms of words and terms, I would put in there, hit random, like specified the number of lines and syllables, everything, whether I wanted to rhyme or not. And then I would get this. And I think pretty early I was like, oh, this is bizarre, this is amazing, this
Yeah.
is mind-boggling, just like this music. So I'm going to put those vocals, I'm going to send it to Justin. And it was a great moment for me, because he was like, first I think he said, what the fuck is this? How do you come up with this? What are these lyrics? I kind of like it, I'm not sure. I'm like, okay, have your time, listen to it. And then we decided that it's the right thing. So I followed that route. And I'm glad it turned out this way, because it's very, very challenging, and I like this way of writing.
Yeah, I was excited when I first heard it. It was kind of shocking because as we said, like obviously Peter's native tongue is Polish, and it's not so easy to be totally eloquent in another language.
Sure.
So I get these vocals back, and I'm like, wow, how did he come up with this stuff? He's like, he's really, really stretched himself here, and he's actually kind of like figured out the whole English language, and beyond to a poetic level. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then he told me what he was doing, how he was coming up with it, and I just, and then I was able to kind of relax and just kind of let it wash over me. And once you just sort of like dive into it, it's just so open-ended and creative, really inspiring a different thought each time you listen to it. So as a good poem should do, it's really thought-provoking.
It's so funny you say that, because I think I listened to the record probably 3 or 4 times, and every time I heard it, there was a familiarity, but I felt different every time when I listened to the song. Like, that jumped out at me differently. Not like normally just getting accustomed to an album. I'm talking about there was different things.
It's also hard to memorize it. It's even when if you're a fan and you're listening multiple times. Maybe Mabaloo is on the easier side, because I used to edit them, because straight out of those programs, I mean, I don't want to say that it's not usable, but the cut up technique gives you also those results that are totally, you can't really swallow that. You can't just really, oh, this is not good enough for a song. So I'd have to go in and edit those. And I believe David Bowie, who was also
he was a fan of that.
Yeah, he was a fan and a user, and I don't remember his software, but he had this software that used to generate those lyrics for him. And he also said that I would take apart a sentence, and then I would just edit those to make them sound like a song. So, but even if you do that, it's really hard to memorize a track like Propagator, and that's why I think you get this feeling of like, oh, I never heard this. Or I never listened to this song in this context. Maybe it means that, it's like,
Right.
So yeah, it's a never ending. Yeah, I want to continue with that, because it's like it's really a cool thing.
And it's cool because on the record you get songs like that, and then you get the song that Isabel sings, which has a repeating lyric. I believe it's I reject your teachings, or
yes.
So, and that was almost like a hook that stays with you, and it breaks down into almost like a spoken word thing at one point. So it's kind of fun, because you could tell that you guys are doing what you want to do. There's no limits to this. It's like, we're gonna do what the fuck we want to do, and you got to love people that can honestly do that in this day and age, because I think a lot of people do sometimes put too much of a focus on how will this do, and I don't think either of you guys care.
No, it's from the beginning. It's just been just a pure form of creation, so just trying to see what we can come up with. And as we were saying earlier, being inspired by each other's, personality and stuff. It's just kind of there's almost like an alchemy of just combining our ideas, or like of me giving Peter something and allowing him to treat it the way he is inspired to treat it, and so the whole structure of the songs and the album and the artwork, it really grows naturally like that. And also having the input of outsiders,
Right.
collaborating with other people, was a massive part of that. Really pushed it over the edge to be, to give it broader parameters. Just kind of more variety and it's just a kind of a constantly moving thing.
When you're looking at some of the titles, just like the title, like Matters Not, and the Not, and it makes me think of a guy like a guy like Al Jorgensen from Ministry is almost like the best at that. He'll always have that double entendre, and so and even the name of the project, MTVoid, like all that stuff you see. I imagine there's thought that goes into that, or is that more like you guys having a couple of drinks going, that would be fucking hilarious?
No, that's Justin. that's 100% Justin.
That's you,
titles,
Justin?
yeah, titles and the name of the album, and the person that I always turn up to when it comes to naming something. I don't know. It's always Justin. I'm like, okay, the songs are ready, man. Take them, take a week, listen, and give me the titles. So I'm like, because from the day number one, I think he puts a lot of thought into his notebook. I've seen it once, and it's full of like weirdest stuff and ideas. And I think, and I respect that. And I think he always comes up with this twist of it. When I think that something should be named like that or should have this name, he would be like, I'll be like, oh, Propagator, of course,
Right?
Of course not fear of course not fear and propaganda, Peter. It's Propagator. Why?
Propagator.
Okay, to you, man.
Do you have fun? Do you have fun doing that, Justin?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just so many hours on in a dressing room or on a tour bus, and my mind constantly racing, being a bit of a closet lyricist, I guess, but not actually having ever sung in a band or anything really. I constantly have ideas, especially for band names or song titles. Occasionally I'll write out a whole, I'll create poetry, actually something from beginning to end, but most of it is, I mean, it's almost like Peter says with his cut up technique, there's just I've got several books full of little pieces and ideas and names. And MTVoid was kind of way back. I had that idea. It just sort of jumped in my head the way that it's kind of, I was thinking about how there's just a blank space there now because MTV stopped playing all their music videos, and it's like it's kind of the creative chasm, of like nothingness. So it just sort of it worked, but yeah, and then like sometimes the lyrics that Peter will write are enough, to inspire the title, but I mean, I think it's really fun to have something that kind of pushes you into the song. It's already kind of making you think before you start actually paying attention to the words. So that was, there's a lot of thought goes into it.
That's great. The possibilities of this actually playing live, are there possibilities of this happening?
Yeah. We've been talking about it, and it's got to, wait for its time. Obviously, Tool is on tour right now, and they're gonna come back to Europe next year. So maybe the end of the year, next year, 2024, or maybe early 25, we can, meet somewhere and create more of a. I think we're agreeing on creating sort of like a DJ set or like a live sound system where we could take this idea of cutting up our stuff and combining it with different things and maybe improvising live, which is a harder part to this whole thing. But I believe if this could take this shape and form, it could be an amazing, trip and sort of like an addition to this album. Because if I don't think any one of us, can put out any sort of work that is additional to this music that we've done already, that's kind of a letdown, like, oh, the shows are not great. So I think we'll make sure that the live show actually is it has to be amazing to just match this chemistry between us and and what we've created already. So, but yeah, we've been chatting about it a little bit.
Because there's got to be a visual component to this, because I see it already when I listen to the music.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. Just it's going to be a lot of fun putting together an actual experience, you know, and adding. I mean, it was fun doing the artwork for this. I did it actually, most of it with my neighbor, who does a lot of art stuff for, you know, for films and Netflix and stuff like that. And it was just, it's really exciting. Obviously, we do it in Tool as well, but just like embellishing what you've already got in the music with the extra layer of the artwork. So the idea of, you know, whatever we come up with as a live setup, obviously we've got to decide, we have a drummer, or obviously I'll play bass, and how's Peter can present his beats or his sequences. But then to add on top of that another layer of visual stuff, you know, whatever it's going to be, is just going to be really exciting, but also something that we don't want to screw up. Like Peter said, we don't want to rush it. We've been focused on getting this album out and making vinyl and stuff. It's a bit of a headache, you know. It took a while. But you know, from here on out, we've already started working on new stuff. By the way, we're working on a track right now. So
nice.
It's been inspiring just getting this out and talking about it. It's already inspired the new stuff. So with that will come plans for doing something live. I think it's kind of unavoidable in a way. Just a matter of time and a matter of logistics and deciding how we want to present it, you know.
Yeah. I believe visuals are going to be a big part of it, because, you know, we're both inspired by visual artists and you know, visuals as a whole. And there's a friend of mine we've been working with for his whole time since the beginning of MTVoid. I knew him like for ages. Vahan Bego, he's an Armenian artist, a sculptor and a painter, and he's like with us in all of the things we come up visually. He's an author of our logo, but he came up, you know, with various like concepts, not only visual, but also like he's the one who's pushing us always towards more psychedelic noise structures and noises. He was the one who was always telling me like, go and present this to Justin. I'm like, man, I know, but this is great, but there is no rhythm, there is no beat here. He's like, you know, he's gonna mature to this stuff. I believe this is the space, this is the future. He always was like, the noises are the future. Like the noise is the natural fabric of our universe and of our world. This is naturally what we hear. Like this is all noise around us, right? We give it shapes, we give it notes, we give it timing, and it's kind of attached to different cultures, Western culture, Arabic culture, whatever. We kind of want to organize the noise into something that is nice and cool. But in fact, the noise is not that nice and it's not that cool. It's more like a, you know, a mass of whatever it is. So yeah, I believe we are good when it comes to visuals. You know, I'm also experimenting a lot with AI on you know, as my own, you know, kind of a I've been always driven visually. So when I discovered all these generators, which also kind of remind me in the process that it does its work to a cut up technique, you know, because it's like when it's being taught and learned on this massive, huge data sets, then when you trigger things with words, it comes up for stuff that you wouldn't think it, you know, would match those words. At least when you put in poetry, which I did with the last video that we have for Dropout with Isabel. Like the prompts were actually the poetry and the lines from the song. So I was like, I'm not gonna prompt this whatever AI engine with give me an image of two girls. I'm not like that. I'm more like, okay, what is this sequence? I reject the feelings, I reject the knowledge. I want to see that, right? And this is something that if you're a human and you're a painter or an artist, it's great. Some people will take this thought and like, okay, give me an hour, and he will come up with 2 sketches, right? But in the meantime, in this hour, I can come up with 100 proposals for this thing. And I'm like, oh, fuck, all of them are great. How do I choose one?
It's fucking Rise of the Machines, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of just
He's
using
right back
that.
there, and he's looking for John Connor right there.
Oh,
Yeah,
there he
yeah,
is.
it's just a
I
matter
love.
of, yeah, it's just a control. We have to control it. We cannot
No,
allow
definitely 100%. But it's funny how so many, there's so much controversy around AI, but so many artists that are cutting edge and that aren't afraid to just actually use it to create or help or fuel their creativity, find that it almost like, I guess it's kind of like psychedelics in the 60s, where it just opens
Yeah.
their minds up to different parts where they will take it and use it and actually become more creative. So it's all like everything, it's a double-edged sword.
I like how Peter just dives right into all these new things that arise. I mean, we did NFTs already. Everyone's kind of like moping around saying how it's a problem and it's going to ruin things. And rather than do that, Peter just dives straight in. I mean, he's already done a video like last week, with this AI. And I think that's great. You got to start figuring out how to use these tools. They're there for your whatever you want to use them for. There's no reason for them to ruin things. You can just use them for what you need them for and embellish your art with even greater fun little toys and see where it takes you. You never know where it's going to lead you next, and it'll inspire more creativity off the back of that as well.
Yeah, the thing is, like, if you learn how to control that, and if you learn how those things work, I believe you can maintain some sort of a big impact. Just like I said, if you replace all the normal stuff that people put into that, like give me a cat in a black suit, it's an obvious thing, right?
Yeah.
But when you start messing with things that are hard to visualize, and you're like, okay, I want to be blown away by your input that you are taken from the edges of the history of mankind up to this date. Everything that's been put on internet, you've been trained on that.
Right.
So give me that in terms of how it would look in times of Roman Empire. I want to see MTVoid back there, and you can start thinking about that, and even that is crazy, right? So it's like you said, it's like psychedelic. I mean, you can just, if you tune in, it's great.
Yeah. I just want to ask you lastly, for you, Justin, you're involved with obviously a juggernaut of a project with Tool. It's a massive band, massive commitment. This has got to be, like you were mentioning, you alluded to it, that you're on tour and your mind's racing. You're always thinking of things. This has got to be almost like a little safe space for you, where it's got to be nice for you to have this as an outlet.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely 100%. It's a total release. It's a relief as well from what I'm normally doing. I get to do things that I wouldn't get to do in Tool. Not that we're shy of being adventurous,
Well, I was going to say, you were the guys that put the recipe on how to make a cake in German and made it sound sinister. And the only reason I knew what that Unkana Aya and all that was because at the time I was dating someone who was German. She was like, they just put a recipe on how to make a cake on that record.
That's still the best shit ever.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of fun in Tool, especially when we're recording our albums, doing those little extra bits and pieces. That's kind of a little reflective of what me and Peter do in MTVoid all the time. But obviously with this project, it's just a complete departure from everyday the way that we write music in Tool. It's very much more of a traditional process. We all meet and we stand next to each other and we make a beat and play jam basically, and this is completely different than that. We're not even in the same room, and we're because we're not an actual band per se, there is no limit to what we can put down as a sound. So that in that way it's a real tonic for me to do while I'm not doing Tool, and really the one inspires the other and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So nothing but healthy, really.
It's kind of a similar situation that Chino has found himself in with Crosses. Deftones obviously a juggernaut of a band, but you listen to what he's doing with Crosses. I don't know if you guys have heard those records, but they're great, and the programming, the sounds, it's just very, very creative. So
yeah, I was just reading. I was just reading about it yesterday in Revolver. I think I'm really interested to hear that stuff.
Both those records and the EP are phenomenal.
Wow, cool.
Really good.
Okay.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time. Have a happy holiday. I really enjoyed this project. I hope one day I can see it live, but if not, I'm gonna follow. And if not, I'll just ask AI to make a live show for me, and it'll happen.
Oh, still not there, but you can try. I mean, you can try.
I don't even know where to go. It's like I'm like the guy who doesn't know how to download music for free. I don't know where to steal anything. I don't even know where to go do AI. And
hit me up when you need any sort of help in that field. I'm like, just like Justin said, I'm not shy of going head down into any sort of mind-bending programming AI kind of digital cyber thing. It was always a part of our project. Like from day number one, I was just using all those things that I even couldn't understand, and it's kind of challenging for me to understand. It's like, and man, thank you for digging deep into our stuff. It's really cool, when people kind of discover all those things that we put in musically and lyrically into that, and it's just like,
I thoroughly appreciate people that are still making art for art's sake. It's kind of nice.
Art is everything. Cheers, man.
I write lyrics too, and sometimes people read them and they're like, oh man, these words just sound like a bunch of words strung together, but I think it's because I'm illiterate. And so it's not exactly about as my lyrics are written as much as they are read.
Right.
No, I'm completely kidding.
No, it was a really, really fun conversation, and really, really grateful to have had them on. So thanks to both of them. And Ryan, we've got a full year ahead of us now. We've got lots of great stuff that's going to be coming our way. We've got we'll talk about it soon, but we've got a new partner coming to the podcast, which is really, really cool too as well. So and some cool guests on I think next week, are we talking to, I think next week we're going to be talking to our friends in the Sheepdogs.
Oh, your friends in the Sheepdogs. Yes.
Well, okay. Well, so, and we've got some other great things coming. So make sure you keep it locked on the Rockman Power Hour. We appreciate all of you so much for supporting us. And if you have not yet, make sure that you subscribe, like the page, subscribe, like, and comment, and let us know who you'd like to see us talk to, because we're always open to suggestions. We've taken suggestions in the past where people have said, hey, you should really talk to these guys, and we have. So, and we'll probably maybe do some more lives coming up too. So people seem to like that.
I love them. No post-production. I love them.
So, all right. So thanks again for joining us on the Rockman Power Hour. A big thanks to our friends over at Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. And if you use our promo code Rockman20, you'll get 20% off your entire order. Big thanks as well to Studio House Designs for making us look fresh. We appreciate you. To my co-host Ryan Stick, to our producer Julia Kajerski, and to all of you, thank you for joining us on the Rockman Power Hour. And until next time, stay safe.